Welcome to the course on advanced power electronics. So we'll have a lecture on today on introduction to high voltage DC transmission. So coming to the outline of presentation, in the starting introduction to high voltage DC transmission, we'll cover high voltage DC general aspect and components, then high voltage DC circuit configuration, then comparison of AC and DC transmission system, advantage, limitations and application of high voltage DC transmission system, analysis of thyristor based converter system for high voltage DC system, and short example with numerical and reference. Now coming to why high voltage DC transmission system technology. So the remote generation and system interconnection lead to surge of efficient power transmission at increasing power level, and the increase in voltage level is not always feasible. So the problem of AC transmission, particularly in long distance transmission, have led to the development of DC transmission system. As you can just see the building block, we have a generation from different sources like thermal generation and wind generation or nuclear generation, and then we have the converter stations to AC to DC conversion, then we have a high voltage DC transmission, then on other side converter have a DC to AC and back to put it to typically on load centers like Delhi, from long distances like. So this HVDC technology transmits the electric power from one place to another, lesser transmission losses, higher transmission efficiency, less number of conductors, more reliable and stable operation, and absence of side effect and interferences. So a long distance direct current power transmission system that uses direct current voltage up to about 1 megavolt to keep transmission losses down, and high voltage DC transmission or high voltage direct current electric power transmission system contrast with the more common alternating current systems as a means for the bulk transmission of electrical power. The modern form of high voltage DC transmission uses a technology developed extensively in the 1930s in Sweden by ASIA. So, who was the inventor of HVDC system was August Uno Lema, who has been from May 22 to 1994 to June 1st, 1989, was the Swedish electrical engineer and inventor, sometimes called the father of high voltage DC transmission, direct current power transmission. So the birth of HVDC transmission technology came with the use of DC for transmission in first designed by Tori in early 20th century with the capacity of 20 megawatt with the distance of 130 miles between the motorist and Luyens, and concept was constant current with several series DC generators. So coming to HVDC system layout, as you can see in the figure, we have a AC grid, then we have a transformer, we call it rectifier transformer, then we have a rectifier substation, then HVDC line, then we have inverter substation with again the transformer, and then the AC grid. So it can be back to back or it can be. So at the generation and utilization of power remains at alternating current, the DC transmission requires conversion at two ends to form AC to DC at the sending end and back to DC to AC at the receiving end. And this conversion is done at rectifier station and sending end, and inverter station at receiving end. The same situation can be switched from rectifier and inverter by simply control action at the two ends. And this is the layout of high voltage DC transmission. As you can see, the different components starting from converter, transformer, cooling system, then AC switch yard, control and protection, then DC component switchgear, then DC yard and converter hall. Now application of HVDC system. The first application is long distance transmission, then bulk power transmission and synchronous interconnection and long submarine cables. Virtually it started with the concept of more than typically 35 miles, 50 kilometers, that the AC voltage increases in the cable substantially high. So to curb that problem, the DC transmission, especially in the underground and in the sea or water, the DC transmission is preferred. So coming to first configuration, point to point, it is used for transmission with finite distance DC link, and back to back it is with zero distance link used for asynchronous tie-ins between. So this is a figure of point to point on the left side, and on the right side we have a back to back, and the back to back is normally preferred in a system where we have a two frequency system like Japan, where we have 50 Hz and 60 system. To interconnect between two frequency systems, 60 Hz, 50 Hz to 60 Hz, we prefer this back to back. So now the development of HVDC system as far as devices are concerned, initially it is developed using mercury arc valve as a device, and first 25 years 1950 to 75 was with that, and then line commutator device like thyristor was invented in typically 54 around 60. So it was the second 25 years was 1975 to 2000 with the thyristor technology in HVDC, with of course many transmission line today. And the third, which have been a next 25 years from 2000 to now, self-commutated converter with IGBT and GTO. And you can see how the mercury arc valve look like, and how the thyristor valve look like, and how the half bridge IGBT module at 2 kA looks like. So now type of HVDC, the classification is mainly based on power semiconductor devices used in this mercury arc valve based converter HVDC system, then line commutated thyristor converter based HVDC system, the capacitor commutated converter HVDC system, and IGBT PWM based voltage source converter based HVDC system, which called HVDC Lite or HVDC Plus, HVDC Lite by ABB, HVDC Plus by Siemens, and then the GTO VSC based HVDC system. So these are typically concept of conventional HVDC system, where we have AC source, and of course we have a AC filter and power factor correction capacitor with the transformer for 12 pulse converter stations, and we have a 12 pulse converter, two converter connected in series with the DC filter on DC link. We have a then transmission line on both sides, typically, and then we have a DC filter on the other converter station, followed by two converter of 12 pulse converters, and then we have again AC filter, power factor correction converter. This is with the thyristor technology. So we normally prefer the 12 pulse converter here, because it's able to eliminate the harmonics typically of 12 and below 12 and plus minus 1. So below 11 these are eliminated, as well as sideband are also eliminated. The lowest harmonics 11, 13, then your 23, 25. And of course for that, of course we design even the passive filter, because that this thyristor converter station require reactive power also for the purpose of control. So for that we use of course the capacitor there. So this capacitor becomes a part of passive filter also. So these are converter, the photograph of converter transformer, then AC high pass filter, then damp filters which are required, and then the smoothing reactor and the thyristor valve. Now coming to examples of HVDC station at Gotland, Sweden, which was first experimented with the different technology. So the HVDC at Gotland, the HVDC Gotland on the Swedish east coast was the first fully commercial static plant for high voltage DC transmission in the world. And the first HVDC Gotland link went into service in 1954 with the mercury arc rectifier, and it could transfer 20 megawatt over a 98 kilometer long submarine cable between Västervik on the mainland and Gagne on the island of the Gotland, and voltage level was of 100 kilovolt. Then this was the growth of HVDC installation capacity in India. Starting from 2000, typically 18 to 19, so we were having, you can say, of different technology of plus minus 800 volt DC, then plus minus 500 volt kilovolt HVDC and 320 kilovolt HVDC, and total like. So you can say for, growth of HVDC transmission have gone reasonably well typically in last 5 years. And this is typically the growth of HVDC installation capacity in the worldwide. How in different years from 2010 it is gone to typically in megawatt up to 2021. So you can see the peak somewhere in 2014 and 2017 with a 59 gigawatt HVDC transmission. So coming to HVDC general aspect and configuration and component. So general aspect is cost of operation, reliability, stability, voltage control, line composition, ground impedance, and harmonics. So cost of operation is the number of converters required for DC transmission is only 2, and they are at plus VDC by 2 or minus VDC by 2. In addition, the insulation level will only be 87% of the AC line, and power transmitted can be increased by 45% with the plus percentage line losses reduced to 29%, and the power can be raised by 100% on the same double circuit AC line with same percentage losses. So coming to reliability of DC circuit can be increased by using an earth as a return, and by using earth return, number of DC circuit can be doubled, thus increasing the reliability of the circuit. And temporary loss of one conductor results in only 17% loss of transmission capacity. So two conductor with earth return will ensure at least 50% of transmission capacity than the total shutdown during the loss of one conductor. Now coming to the stability, in DC circuit, the line length has no relation to the stability of the system as in case of DC. In case of AC, so DC circuit does not require any compensating equipment such as shunt reactor, series capacitor, or even intermediate switching station for stabilizing the system as required in AC system, and it is possible to extend DC line indefinitely. Now coming to the voltage control, the voltage control in AC lines is complicated by line charging and inductive voltage drop, and the voltage profile in AC line is relatively flat only for a fixed level of power transfer corresponding to surge impedance loading, and the voltage profile varies with the line loading. So for constant voltage at the line terminals, the midpoint is reduced for line loading higher than the surge impedance loading and increase for the loading less than surge impedance loading, as you can see here in the diagram with the distance, how it is the typically for from sending end and length, and how the voltage at constant power how the voltage varies like typically. So now coming to line compensation, AC line requires a certain shunt and series compensation in long distance transmission. To increase power transfer capacity and voltage control is possible through use of static VR compensator. And in AC cables, transmission shunt system is powered at regular interval. This is serious problem in underwater cables. So, but no line compensation is required in case of DC transmission. Coming to ground impedance, the ground impedance is negligible for DC currents, and DC link can operate using one conductor with ground return, monopole operation, and single pole operation of DC transmission system is possible for extended periods. So coming to harmonic, the converter used in DC line produce harmonic voltage and current on both AC and DC side, and these harmonics in AC network cause interference with the radio your out of frequency telephone lines which require filters on AC side. The cost of filter and of the additional reactive power supply should be regulated as a part of the cost of DC line terminal. Now coming to ground return, two conductor bipolar DC line is more reliable than the three conductor AC line because of in event of fault or on one conductor, the other conductor can continue to operate with the ground return, and the operation of AC line with the ground return is not feasible on account of high impedance and the telephone interference caused by the such operation. A monopolar DC line with earth return is still a simpler than a three-phase AC line and is equally reliable. Now coming to circuit breaker, AC circuit breaker take advantage of current zero that occur twice in a per cycle. So they are designed to increase the breakdown strength of the arc path between contacts so rapidly that the arc does not stay strike, and DC circuit breaker do not have this natural advantage and therefore have to force the current zero, and the fault on the DC line or in the converters are cleared by using the control grids of the converter valve to block the direct current temporarily due to lack of high voltage DC breaker, and the lack of HVDC circuit breaker must be regarded as a present limitations of HVDC transmission. Now coming to corona and radio interference, so ratio between DC and AC critical corona voltage must be equal to the crest factor at least, since the losses in the AC increase much more steadily than the DC high voltage. So the corona and radio interference are expected to be 2/3 of those of three-phase AC system. So if these losses are considered, then the DC power can be raised still further. So with higher voltage, these losses in AC line rise steeply compared to the DC line. Now coming to skin effect in DC system is completely absent, and more uniform current distribution in the conductor and better utilization of the metal. So coming to interconnection of different frequency system, since the DC link is not a synchronous one, so regulation of the power flow can be effected independently of the frequency and voltage of the connected AC network, and thus the system of different frequency and frequency control can be connected by DC without affecting each other, and this quality will be most useful in case of interstellar exchange of power. Now coming to HVDC configuration, So there are five main types of HVDC link which is connected between the two converter stations. They are monopolar link, bipolar link, homopolar link, and multi-terminal link, and back-to-back. So coming to first monopolar link, the monopolar link is only one conductor. The return path is through ground and C, as you can see in the diagram. And in DC application, HVDC light, the cable return is used. The metallic return can also be used where the concern for harmonic interference and or corrosion exists. So because of relatively less corona effect, monopolar link is normally operated with negative polarity and simplest and least expensive systems for moderate power transfer, and it uses low voltage electrodes line and C electrodes. So you can see here how did the monopolar metallic return is shown, how monopolar mid-wind ground return is there. And now coming to layout of the monopolar HVDC station, you can just see the different components like a shunt capacitors, harmonic filters, then converter transformer, then valve, hall, and DC switcher, and then the DC line with input AC line. Now coming to bipolar link, the bipolar link uses two conductor, one positive and other negative, and each terminal is having two sets of converter of equal rating in a series on the DC side, and the junction between the two sets of converter is grounded at one or both ends by use of short electrode line, and under balanced condition the ground current is zero. So monopolar operation can also be used in the first stage of the development of bipolar link. So you can see how the bipolar link with the bipolar link look like. I mean, you have two converters, 12 pulse converter on the input and output side, and then how bipolar with the metallic return is shown. I mean, the difference between the two you can clearly look into. So bipolar link can be used for as a monopolar link under the fault condition, and bipolar link is having a same reliability as that of double circuit AC line. So the power transfer of bipolar link is the same as that of three-phase AC circuit. And you can see how the monopolar versus bipolar link look like. In monopolar on left side, bipolar on right side, how the converter stations are connected between the two. So coming to in a homopolar link, both conductors have same polarity. The polarity of the conductors is generally negative, and due to the undesirability of operating DC link with the ground return, bipolar links are mostly used. And a homopolar link has the advantage of reduced insulation cost. The disadvantage of earth return outweigh the advantage. And this you can clearly see how the homopolar link is preferable to a bipolar when ground current is not obstructive. So negative polarity is preferred because of the less corona loss and less radio frequency interference. Now coming to multi-terminal HVDC. So in multi-terminal HVDC, you can say the many converters connected to the same line, and then bipolar C is connected converter station. How it looks like. So now back-to-back interconnection, the two converter at the same side, and so no transmission line. Designed for low voltage, use higher current rating of single thyristor. Two units are identical, can be used for both rectification and inversion modes by system control. And they typically back-to-back with the zero distance. Two converter station, AC system one, AC system with the throw converter system. So coming to comparison of various HVDC link, the monopolar link uses one conductor, while as bipolar and homopolar use two conductors. The conductor area, hence the cost of monopolar link is less than the bipolar link, and the reliability of monopolar link is comparable with the three-phase single circuit line, while as the reliability of bipolar homopolar link is comparable with the three-phase double circuit line. Now coming to HVDC component. HVDC components consist of converter station, converter transformer, DC smoothing reactor, AC/DC filter, and reactive power source. So you can say the main component in this diagram, starting from typically from converter station, we need the reactive power source, we need the AC filter, then the transformers, then we have a smoothing reactors followed by DC filters on converter side as well as rectifier side, and then of course we have again converter and then the filter and reactive power source on both the sides. The converters, the sending end converter work as a rectifier, convert AC to DC power. However, the converter at receiving end works as an inverter, convert DC power to AC power. So several thyristors are connected in series parallel to form a valve to achieve high voltage and current rating. A line commutator converter use thyristor as a switch, and self commutator converter use the gate turn off thyristor or IGBT as a switch. So voltage transformation between the AC supply and the HVDC system, and the supply of AC voltage in two separate circuits with relative phase shift of 30 degree from reduction of low order harmonics, especially the 5th and 7th harmonic, and it acts as a Galvin barrier between the AC and DC system to prevent the DC potential to enter the AC system, and the reactive impedance in the AC supply to reduce short circuit current and to control the rate of rise in the valve current during the computation. Coming to DC smoothing reactor, so a DC reactor is normally connected in series with the converter. The main objective of the reactor are to reduce the harmonic current on the DC side of the converter and to reduce the risk of commutation failure by limiting the rate rise of DC line current at transmission disturbances, tangent disturbances in the AC or DC system. Now going to AC-DC filter, the harmonics generated by converter are of order of NP plus minus 1 in AC side and NP in DC side, where P is the number of pulses and N is the integer. The filter are used to provide low impedance path to the ground for the harmonic current, and they are connected to the converter terminal so that harmonics should not enter the AC system. Now coming to reactive power sources, the conventional HVDC system converts always a demand for reactive power because of thyristor phase control. At normal operation, a converter consumes reactive power in an amount that cooperates approximately 50% of the transmitted active power. The least costly way to generate reactive power is the shunt connected capacitor bank, and these are the typical HVDC component like converter, then DC smoothing reactor, then DC filter, converter, transformer, NC filter, and this is the typically the HVDC project looks like. Now coming to exactly HVDC project at a glance, with the mercury arc based project, line commutated thyristor based project, capacitor commutated based project, HVDC light project, and GTO VSC based project. So you can just see in this table HVDC project using mercury arc valve, in different parts of the world, Germany, Russia, France, virtually New Zealand, Italy, Japan, British Columbia, Oregon, so of different kind of system, like here it is shown, like in different part of the world, and the year of installation as well as the power rating varying from typically even a 20 megawatt to gone to typically of order of 1200 megawatt, and the different distances, varying for even back to back or even 40 kilometer minimum to like it typically 304 kilometers. This was with the mercury arc valve, like so number of projects were installed in the world. Then the table with thyristor based HVDC, typically around 25 projects. Starting with the Gotland, it started from 1954 to 1979, and power rating varies from typically again from 20 megawatt, it gone to as high as maybe for 16-20 megawatt on Nelson River, and then your voltage also varies over a wide range, starting from typically your 100 kilovolt to gone to typically your even a 260 kilovolt, and then the length also varying typically over a wide range, and the longest distance is 1362 kilometer, and back to back also is zero distance line. Then the other addition, some more project on thyristor based HVDC, with the year wise, typically 81 to up to 1989, and the typically power rating even up to 2000 megawatt, 2 gigawatt. You can just see 2 gigawatt cross channel trans England, and even more than that in Itaipu, Brazil, 3150, 3.15 gigawatt with plus minus 600 kilovolt, and with the distance of 805 kilometer, and even in China, it's a 600 megawatt with a 500 kilovolt with 1000 kilometer. Then this is some more project which have gone up to in 1997. Our power has gone to typically when around 3 gigawatt. If you look into the 3 gigawatt on typically in Canada, and with a larger distance of typically around 950 kilometers or 1000 kilometers typically in China with the 600 gigawatt. So these were the with the thyristor, and these are the project with the capacitor commutated in 2000 of 110 megawatt, 500 volt and back to back with the capacitor commutated, and the fourth table is actually a project of HVDC light in the world, starting from 3 megawatt to 300 megawatt with the different voltage of varying 10 kilovolt to 350 kilovolt and length even up to 970 kilometers. And then the list of GTO-based HVDC project in Japan in year 2000 of up to 800 megawatt and voltage of plus minus 10 kilowatt in back-to-back. So you have all kind of project what we listed: mercury reactor, thyristor rectifier, capacitor commutator, the HVDC light, and GTO based HVDC light also. This gives the confidence that all these systems are installed in the world somewhere. And now coming to the table 6 in HVDC in India, project in HVDC in India, we have 14 project of HVDC installed in different, up to 2000 megawatt and typically distance of 1400 kilometers. As well as number of projects are back to back also, around you can typically say 7 back to back project, back to back type system. Now coming to comparison of AC and DC transmission system. So AC versus DC system, limitations of HVAC system is reactive power loss, stability, current carrying capacity, and Franti effect. To solve these problems, HVDC transmission system appear. And economics of power transmission, the cost of transmission line includes the investment and the operational cost. For the same insulation level, a DC line carry a much larger power with 2 conductors as an AC line with the 3 conductors of same size. And for a given power level, the DC line requires less right of the way and simpler, cheaper towers and reduced conductor and insulator cost. And you can just compare the two case like AC system of 3 wire and DC system 2 wires, how it look like for economic comparison. And then the relative proportion of towers of AC on the left side of 650 kilowatt and DC of 4 plus minus 400 volt kV DC. So you can see clearly tower height, as well as number of conductors are reduced in case of your HVDC system. And this is the typically you can call it weights of mile of AC and DC cable. So you can see here tons of miles for AC per miles increases substantially compared to the DC. So coming to for economic comparison, the power in AC system is 3 into EPIL, that is root 3 ALIL, and power DC with IDVD, and DC the losses is your in AC 3IL square R in AC loss, and DC the losses is 2ID square R. So equating the 3IL square R equal to 2ID square. So ID becomes root 3 by 2 into IL, and equating power 3LPL equal to IDVD. So VD becomes 3 into root 2 3 divided by 3 into EP. So insulation level of AC line is root 2 EP into K1, where the insulation level of DC is VD by 2 K2. So where K1 K2 are multiplying factor if K1 K2 is there. So DC insulation to AC insulation is 0.87. So you require only 87% insulation for DC line. The DC line will only have 2 conductors instead of 3 for the same rating, but in addition the insulation level will be only the 87% of the AC line. Power by DC to power by AC, that's also factor of root 2. Losses by DC to losses AC 1 by root 2. Losses in DC is only 0.71%. So the power transmission can be increased by 41% with the and with the line losses reduced to 29%. So power can be raised to 100% on the same double circuit as the AC line with the same line losses, same line. So now reduced power losses DC has only 2 conductors, about 67% of the AC with that same current capacity of a conductor. So absence of skin effect in DC transmission, direct losses in case of power cable, and the corona effect tends to be less significant on DC conductor than the AC, which leads to economic size of the conductor. And DC lines do not require compensation, which influence the line cost, but the thermal costs are increased due to presence of converter and filter. And with the distance, you will see the very low distance, the AC line is typically cheaper, and for long distance, your DC transmission is cheaper. But of course, there is a break-even point where the cost of both the systems are same. That we call it break-even distance. The figure shows the variation of cost of transmission with distance for AC-DC transmission. So break-even distances can vary from 500 to 800 km in case of overhead line, depending upon the per unit line's cost. Now coming to technical performance, the DC transmission has some positive features, and these are mainly due to the fast controllability of power in DC line through converter control, and the full control over a power transmitter, and the ability to enhance transient and dynamic stability in associated AC network, and the fast control to limit the fault current in DC line. This makes it feasible to avoid the DC breaker in two terminal link. So, and the power is EP upon X into sine delta. So the power transfer in AC line depends on the angle difference between the voltage phases at the two ends. For the given power level, angle increases with distance, and the maximum power transfer is limited by consideration of steady state and tangent stability. But power carrying capacity of AC line is a function of distance shown as here. So DC powered with the DC with the line does not change. However, with the AC it decreases because of these limitations. So the power carrying capacity of the DC line is unaffected by the distance of transmission, and a DC transmission link is itself has no stability problem at AC transmission link, and two separate AC system interconnect only by a DC line does not operate in AC synchrony. The maintenance of constant voltage at both ends requires reactive power control from inductive to capacity at a line loading is increased in case of AC system. The reactive power requirement increases with the increase in line length with the AC system, and DC converter station require reactive power related to the line loading. The line itself does not require reactive power, so steady state charging current in AC line pose serious problem in case of cable. Now coming a problem of AC interconnection, two systems which are interconnected through AC tie have to coordinate using the tie line power and frequency signal. An AC tie line can be problematic due to presence of large power oscillation. This can lead to frequent tripping and increase in fault level. Transmission of disturbance of one system to another. The controllability of power flow in DC lines eliminated all the above problem. And for a synchronous DC line, there is no DC tie, there is no need of coordinated control. Now current limit, the temperature of a conductor must be limited in order to avoid the damage of the conductor itself, and in case of cable to the insulation in contact with it. The AC resistance of the conductor is higher than its DC resistance because of skin effect, and that will cause more losses. Now coming to voltage limit, the normal working voltage and the over voltage caused by switching surges and lighting must be limited to a value that will not cause puncture or flashover of the insulation. So on extra high voltage line, the switching surges rather than lightning have become more serious tangent over voltage. So on DC line, switching surges are lower than in case of extra voltage AC line, 1.7 times normal voltage. On overhead lines, the maximum working voltage and the minimum conductor size is limited by loss and radio interference due to corona used as limiting factor, and radio frequency interference due to fall, whether it's slightly decreased in case of DC line, whether as in case of AC line it is greatly increased. Now coming to short circuit current, the interconnection of AC system through an AC line raises the short circuit current, and that exceeds the interrupting capacity of the existing circuit breaker. Interconnection of AC system through an DC link does not increase with the short circuit current of the AC system. The proper operation of DC line terminal requires that the short circuit power of the AC system at the point of installation by several times the rated power of DC line, and faults on the DC line draw excessive current from the AC system. Now coming to terminal equipment, the converter required at both ends of DC transmission link have to be proven reliable but expensive. The other terminal equipment on the either AC or DC line may limit the voltage or current, hence the power. Now coming to power semiconductor circuit with assumptions, AC-DC line using the same conductor insulator, the current is limited by temperature rise DC equal to RMS AC. The insulator withstand same crush voltage to ground in each case. So DC voltage equal to root 2 RMS AC voltage. So DC power is PD equal to VDID, and AC power per conductor is PA equal to VAIA cos phi. So ratio is PD upon PA, and VDID divided by VAIA cos phi, or VD into ID upon VA into IA, 1 upon cos phi, or root 2 upon cos phi. So if cos phi is 0.945, then the PD upon PA is 1.5. So on DC you can transmit the same line around 50% more power. So compare three-phase 3-conductor AC line with two bipolar 2-conductor DC line. The power capability of the circuits are PD equal to 2 PD and PA equal to 3 PA. So ratio of PD upon PA is 3 into PD upon 2 PD, that is your 2 into 3 divided by 3 into 2, that is 1. So this shows both lines carry the same power. The DC line is cheaper and simpler, having a 2 conductor instead of 3. So power oblique conductor, so an overhead line requires only 2 by 3, as many insulators as the tower are cheaper, simpler and narrow. The percentage loss of DC line is only 2/3 of that of AC line, where the both lines have same power loss per conductor. So if the basic comparison is equal percentage loss, then the power of the 3-phase line is decreased by root 2 by 3, and that's of 2 conductor DC line. Coming to reliability of DC transmission system is quite good as the comparable to the AC system. There are 2 measures of overall system reliability: energy availability and tangent reliability. So coming to energy availability is 100 1 minus equivalent outage time divided by total time into percentage. So equivalent outage time is the product of actual outage time and the fraction of the system capacity lost due to outage, and tangent stability is equal to 100 into number of times of HVDC system performed as designated and number of the recorded AC fault. So recorded AC fault are those faults which cause one or more AC bus phase voltage to drop below 90% of the voltage prior to the fault. So both energy availability and tangent reliability of DC system with thyristor valve is 95% or more, and average failure rate of thyristor in a valve is less than 0.6 per operating year, and some HVDC outage stakes is given here with the equipment like thyristor group converter, transformer, smoothing reactor, DC reactor, master control pole, transmission line, and DC line switch with the typically mean time failure of different years, and then the mean time repair of in hours. Now coming to advantage, limitations and application of HVDC system. The advantage: total investment cost is lower. Like investment cost consists of terminal cost, transmission cost, tower cost, and land cost, which are shown how the terminal look like, how the transmission line look like, how the tower cost look like, and how the land looks like. So here the HVDC system line cost less than the AC line for the same transmission capacity, and DC terminal cost is more expensive than AC terminal cost, and but above a certain distance, the so-called break-even distance, the HVDC alternate will always give you the lower cost, and break-even distance is 600 to 800 km, and total DC cost less than total AC cost, as you can see in the diagram. And tower cost and land, you can see 500 plus minus 500 kV DC system with the 50 meter, between, and here in case you are typically 200 500 kV AC is around 100 meter wide. So related cost for land, line, and tower for 2000 megawatt DC transmission is 50% of. If you take a 200 megawatt AC transmission, so land is 50% required 50% compared to AC system. Line is required 33%, and the tower is required only 30%. So it's look quite economical to use the HVDC system. Coming to HVDC cable transmission for long distance water crossing. In a long AC cable transmission, the reactive power flow due to the large cable capacitance will limit the maximum possible transmission distance. And with the HVDC, there is no such limitation. Why? For long cable link, HVDC is the only viable technical alternative. The longest HVDC submarine cable presently operation in 250 km between Baltic cable transmission between Sweden and Germany, and several HVDC submarine cable of 500 km or more are currently being planned in Europe and elsewhere. So you can see how your cable, with the 2 converter station and the line between your Germany and Sweden from Hanvik to Kreuzberg. Now coming to HVDC transmission have a lower loss than optimized. HVDC transmission line has lower losses than AC line for the same power capacity. The losses in the converter station have, of course, to be added, but since they are only about 0.6% of the transmitted power in each station, the total HVDC transmission losses comes out lower than AC losses particularly in all cases. And HVDC cable also have lower losses than AC cable. Diagram shows comparison of the losses for overhead transmission line of 1200 megawatt with the AC and HVDC system. So you can clearly see the losses. Case of HVDC system is lower with a longer distance. more than 350 kilometers. So now coming to HVDC for transmission for asynchronous connection. So many HVDC link interconnect incompatible AC system. Several HVDC link interconnect ACs that are not running in synchronous with each other. The system frequency of both area may be same or different. The examples are for one interconnected system with same frequency, UCT union for coordination of transmission of electricity and the nodal. You can see these white side, and US and Eastern version with the different frequency in Japan 50 to 60 Hz system. When in India also out of 14 projects, 7 are on your typically of a synchronous kind of link of back to back. So interconnection with the same frequency, the nodal power system in Scandinavia is not synchronous with the UCT grid in Western continental Europe, even though the normal frequencies are the same. And the power system of Eastern USA is not synchronous with that of Western US. And the reason for this is that it is sometimes difficult to possible to connect the two AC network due to stability region, as you can see in the diagram. So interconnection with different frequencies, like it's shown in the typically in the Japan. I mean how it is really comes of different parts. I mean this one side is 60 Hz, another side is 50 Hz, as shown in the diagram. The other advantage of HVDC system is requires less space compared to AC for the same voltage rating and size, and ground can be used as a return conductor, less current loss and radio interference, no charging current, no skin and fancy effect, no switching tangent, and HVDC transmission system short circuit current. Limit the short circuit current. HVDC transmission for controllability of power flow and typically environmental effect. So disadvantage of HVDC system, high cost of terminal equipment. HVDC transmission require converters at both ends, and those are very expensive than AC equipment, and introduction to harmonics. The converters generate a considerable amount of harmonics in both AC and DC side. So some harmonics are filtered out, but some harmonics still enter into the system and affect the apparatus. So those harmonics may also interfere with the communication link system. Now coming to blocking of reactive power. So DC line block the flow of reactive power from the one end to the other end. So these reactive power are required by some load that must be fulfilled by inverters. So coming to point transmission not possible. So it is not possible to tap DC power at several locations in the link. Wherever the power is to be trapped, a control station is required and coordinated with the other terminals, and this increases the complexity and cost of the system. Now the other disadvantage, converter requires much reactive power. Converter have little overload capacity. Lack of HVDC circuit breaker hampers the multi-terminal or network operation, and inability to use transformers to change the voltage level, and complexity of control. An application of course are long distance bulk transmission, underground or underwater cables, asynchronous interconnection of AC system operating at different frequencies, or where the independent control of the system is desired, and control and stabilization of power flow in AC ties in the integrated power system. Coming to basic converter circuits for HVDC system. So static power conversion. Static power conversion from AC to DC and DC to AC is the crucial process of HVDC transmission, and power conversion is performed by converter circuits, namely called rectifier and inverter, and solid state devices are the main component of converter circuit. Now coming to concept of static power conversion. So in static power conversion, instantaneous matching of the AC and DC voltage level have to be achieved by using available limited number of phases and switching device, and absence of energy storage device on either side will cause theoretically infinite current level tangent, and for practical reason the enough series impedance must be included to absorb the continuous voltage mismatch between the two sides. But this is the converter between AC to DC. And now series impedance in AC side, the switching devices transfer the instantaneous direct voltage to the AC system according to the transformer connection and ratio, and the circuit configuration is basically a voltage converter with a possibility of altering the DC current by the thyristor control. And series impedance on DC side. So constant DC current pulses flow through the switching device into the transformer secondary winding. So these current pulses are then transferred to the primary side according to the transformer connection and ratio. This is basically the current converter with the possibility of adjusting the direct voltage by the thyristor control. So now coming to current conversion for HVDC system, use of voltage conversion was rejected in mercury arc converter. It is because of the impossibility of recovering from the arc back disturbances and large series impedance required to accommodate rapid changes in the supply voltage, and this will cause uneconomical in terms of reactive power compensation. Therefore, the initially current conversion principle was generally accepted for HVDC converter design. Now coming to types of converter in HVDC system. The types of converter, there are basically two types of converter: current source converter and voltage source converters. So current source converter, during the period of 1950 to 1990, HVDC system used the current source converter configuration exclusively, and the traditional current source converter utilized the mercury arc valve from the early 1950 to mid 1970, and thereafter thyristor valve as its fundamental switching device. And this is typically the typical current source converter with the thyristor devices. I mean, on the DC side you have an inductor to make current source, and AC side you have three-phase supply voltage, of course, with source impedance with the thyristor minimum. So now a valve normally conduct of only in one direction from the anode to cathode. While analyzing the current source converter circuit, the valve are considered as the ideal switches, and a current source converter can be used as an inverter only by changing the voltage polarity. So now current source converter is usually used for high rating project as compared to the voltage source converter, and for your high voltage rating, thyristors are connected in series nowadays. For high current rating, thyristors are connected in parallel. In current source converter, we have the control on starting of conduction, but not on the stopping of conduction till the thyristor current reaches zero value. So current source converter 6 pulse converters can be connected in series or on DC side to form the higher pulse converter, and higher the number of pulses, lesser the harmonic, thus lower the filter size. And the order of harmonics on AC side is NP plus minus 1, while the harmonics on DC side is your NP, where N is the integer number, NP is the number of pulse number. Now coming to the introduction to voltage source converter, the commercially availability of high power and high voltage gate turn of thyristor and insulated bipolar transistor valve in 1990 offered the viable operation of voltage source converter in HVDC scheme, and VSC can be used in inverter mode by using a different kinds of PWM technique, and VSC voltage source converters utilize the self-commutating switches which can be turned on and off at will. So coming to the voltage source converter operation, the commutation is a force commutated voltage source converter valve can occur many times per cycle. The power reversal in voltage source can be made with either current or voltage reversal at the DC side. So DC side capacitor and AC side inductor are necessary element of voltage source converter, and this is the typically a kind of example of voltage source converter where we have a you can say the valve with the self-commutating device and anti-parallel diode, and of course on DC side we have a capacitor filter. On inductor side we have a AC inductor, not normally sometimes used, and then we have a course the. So now when ID is positive, the VSC acts as a rectifier, and when I is negative, VSC acts as inverter. And the VSC voltage source converter can also modulate the firing of the valve to control the reactive power so as to obtain unity power factor. And the pendulum controller generates the voltage with the same frequency as AC. So by changing the amplitude of V generated and its phasor relation, the converter can be made to operate in all four quadrants. Examples are rectifier operation at unity power factor, inverter operation at unity power factor, and purely reactive with leading current and purely reactive with lagging current. So this is voltage source operation. So first phase is rectifier at unity power factor, where you have to take only the drop of input impedance, and then inverter operation at unity power factor, then pure reactive leading current and pure reactive with the lagging current. Now coming to operation of thyristor based converter circuit. So it's a basic which called three-phase controlled AC to DC converter with the 6 thyristor. I mean 3 conduct for positive half cycle and 3 conduct for negative half cycle. And the converter principle is the series impedance is included in to observe the continuous voltage mismatch between the two sides. In case of voltage conversion, impedance is located at AC side and DC current is altered by thyristor control. In case of current conversion, impedance is located at DC side. The DC voltage is altered by thyristor control. And the voltage conversion was rejected in Mercury arc valve because of arc back disturbances. And with the zero impedance, the transfer of current between valve on the same leg is instantaneous. So valve 135 on the top and 462 at the bottom are connected in to RYB phase respectively, and there is always two valve conducting in series. So each valve carries the full value of DC current with 1/3 of the cycle. The output voltage has a ripple or harmonic frequency of 6 times the main frequency. And these are typically conducting sequence, 6 conducting sequence without overlapping, and how the output voltage is there of the typically the converter for correspond to that. Like, so coming to firing angle control delays the instant of firing the valve, and the voltage area mean direct voltage is reduced in proportion to the magnitude of the delay. And for alpha greater than 60, negative voltage periods begin to appear, and with pure output resistance, bridge unidirectional current conduction property will prevent reverse current during the negative voltage period. Large smoothing reactor maintains the positive current flow during the negative period. And this is typically your output voltage shown with the black color for the different firing angle. So here average voltage can be calculated between VO equal to 1 upon pi by 3, and from pi by 3 alpha to 2 pi by 3 alpha Vm line sin omega t to d omega t. That comes equal to 3 Vm line to line divided by pi into cos alpha. That is the output DC voltage of this, average DC voltage of this output waveform. And then you can say effect of firing delay, and the common cathode and anode voltage, and then direct voltage, output direct voltage, and voltage across the valve 1. So coming to like input 0 AC input line current, so you can say this is quasi square wave if there is no source impedance with the firing delay, and that's the delay for fundamental current also. And how the harmonic spectrum is there, that you have a fifth harmonic 20%, 1 by 5th, and 7th is 1/7, and then 6 pulse you have a 5th, 7th, 11th, 13, that is your 6 plus minus 1 for AC side. And then this is the DC voltage side with firing angle control, with different firing angle from alpha equal to 0 to alpha equal to 180 degree, provided your DC current is continuous. I mean, for our output voltage for alpha equal to 90 is 0. So for firing angle alpha greater than 90, beyond 90, mean voltage is negative. So bridge operation can be maintained in the presence of DC power supply, and this supply overcomes the negative voltage and forces the current to conduct in the same direction in the opposite to the induced EMF. So power being supplied to the AC system, so that is converter is inverting. And condition required for power inversion, so an active AC voltage source which provides the commutating voltage waveform, provision of firing angle control to delay the commutation beyond alpha 90, and a DC supply, and that is for alpha equal to 90 degree, where your the output voltage DC becomes 0. I mean, it's only you have no change voltage across the diode valve at 90 degree, common anode cathode voltage. And then this is for voltage and inversion. I mean, like when you have a alpha equal to 180 degree, so common cathode and anode voltage, then direct voltage negative, and then the voltage across the valve 1. And these are the, of course, the voltage and current effect of delay angle on the voltage and current of AC side. So you can say with the delay 0 degree, then alpha up to 150 degree, and how the phasor also changes of fundamental frequency. I mean, Vn and I, one fundamental current that's shown by dotted in first diagram also. Now coming to commutation process, the commutation is the process of current transfer from one valve to another valve in the same leg, and commutation time is the time taken for the commutation process. And AC system reactance affect the commutation process by reducing the rate of change of current or lengthen the commutation time. And supply voltage and delay angle also affect the speed of commutation process. The commutation process for the circuit for commutation from valve R to another valve, how the current flows into the both, I mean, during commutation, and how the current reduces in valve 1 and current increases valve 3, and what is the voltage across. Typically the output during this, that's typically the end, I mean, during commutation process. So commutating voltage and reactance, the voltage appearing on the DC side, DC line during the period when no commutation is taking place, the only direct current flow through the AC system impedance and voltage waveform is sinusoidal, and the commutating reactance, the reactance between the commutating voltage and converter valve is XCJ equal to XS plus XTJ, and XCJ is the commutating reactance, and XS is the system source impedance, and XTJ is transformer reactance of N bridges. So this commutation reactance series connection of N bridges causes XC series equal to K XS plus XTJ, and parallel connection of N bridges called XC parallel equal to XS plus 1 upon K XTJ. And you can see how the configuration of your typically of your series connected converters, and how typically. So coming to three-phase converter with the AC side inductance, you have AC side inductance, and how the commutation take place from typically from 1 to the 5th device, and during commutation what the voltage loss and how the current decreases and increases between the device 1 and 5, and how the current waveform changes during the commutation, rises and falls, and how the typically the harmonics are affected by this your source impedance due to commutation. So coming to analysis of this commutation circuit, as you can see, the both devices conducted their time from 1 and 3rd, and the voltage also are affected, current increases and decreases into. So consider commutation process between valve 1 and 3 of the converter bridges. So VC is the source voltage, XC is the commutation reactance per phase. So VCY is greater than VCR, and I1 is equal to I3 plus ID, and VCR minus VCY minus VCR equal to 2 XC upon omega, and DCIC upon dt. So taking as a reference the voltage crossing phases between R and Y. So VCY minus VCR equal to root 2 VC sin omega t. So 1 by root 2 VC sin omega t d omega t equal to XCDI, indicating with respect to the alpha. So 1 upon root 2 VC sin omega t d omega t equal to XCDIC, or 1 upon root 2 alpha 2 omega t VC sin omega t d omega t equal to XC 0 to ICDIC, and IC equal to VC upon root 2 XC cos alpha in bracket minus cos omega t, and sub final condition IC equal to ID and omega t equal to alpha plus mu. So ID becomes VC upon 2 root 2 X in bracket cos alpha minus cos alpha plus mu. So now coming to rectifier observation. So assumptions are converter valves are ideal switches, and AC system consists of perfectly balanced and sinusoidal induced EMF. Direct current is constant and ripple free. That is the presence of large smoothing reactor is assumed, and only 2 or 3 valve conduct simultaneously. And this is typically the rectifier operation plus and minus DC voltage with respect to transformer neutral, and direct voltage VD and voltage across the valve 1, and then valve currents 1 and typically 6, and AC line current of phase are how the commutation really affects the current rise and fall. So the following expression can be easily derived for the average output voltage with the reference to the waveform shown. VD equal to half VC0 in bracket cos alpha plus mu, and when VCG is the maximum average DC voltage that is at no load to without firing delay, which is the 3-phase bridge configuration. So VC0 equal to 3 root 2 divided by pi into VC, and VC is the phase to phase RMS commutating voltage referred to the secondary or valve side of the converter transformer. So VD equal to VC0 cos alpha minus 3 XC upon pi into ID. So AC RMS current of rectifier converter is now IRMS equal to root 1 upon pi minus pi by 3 to plus pi by 3 ID square to omega t, that is root 2 ID by 3. The current flowing the AC system contains only fundamental component frequency and harmonics filters are provided in the converter terminal. So I RMS equal to root 6 upon pi into ID. And now coming to inverter operation, the angle of advance called beta pi minus alpha for inverter station, and extraction angle beta minus gamma in delta mu. And so the voltage equations are VD equal to VC0 cos gamma minus 3 XC by pi into ID, and VD equal to VC0 cos beta plus 3 XC upon pi into ID. So from this VD equal to VC by 2 cos beta plus cos gamma, and the expression of ID equal to VC upon root 2 XC cos gamma minus cos beta. And this is typically the thyristor inverter. How it is really push the power from DC side to AC side. And these are the waveform typical positive and negative DC terminal voltage of transformer to neutral, and direct voltage VD and voltage across valve 1 and the valve current 1 and 6 and AC line current of phase R. Coming to power factor and reactive power, the converter current in each phase always lags its voltage because of firing angle and commutation angle, and the rectifier absorbs lagging current, consume volt ampere reactive. So in the presence of perfect filter, no distorting current flows beyond the filtering point, and the power factor can be approximated by displacement factor cos phi. Under ideal condition, P equal to root 3 VC I cos phi, that is VDID, or cos phi equal to VDID divided by root 3 VC into I, and cos phi equal to half in bracket cos alpha plus mu. And the reactive power can be expressed as a function of active power. So Q equal to P tan phi, where tan phi is your sine 2 alpha plus 2 mu minus sine 2 alpha minus 2 mu divided by cos 2 alpha minus cos 2 alpha plus 2 mu. Similarly, power factor of the inverter is cos phi equal to half cos gamma plus cos beta. Coming to analysis of grid circuit. Grid circuits, a three-phase bridge rectifier uses the conversion of AC to DC via known as a grid circuit. It consists of 6 valves divided into positive and negative groups, each group consisting of 3 valves. So no 2 valves of the same lag should conduct at the same time, and it will result in short circuit of the DC side. The 12 pulse converter is composed of 2 bridges in series supplied from 2 different transformers with voltage differing in phase by 30 degrees. So assumptions for the analysis of grid circuit: the AC system, including the converter transformer, may be represented by an ideal source of a constant voltage and frequency in series with the lossless inductance. And second is the direct current is constant and ripple free. And third is the valve are ideal switches with zero resistance when the conducting and infinite resistance when not conducting. And this is the circuit, grid circuit, where we have 6 thyristor valve and AC side impedance, DC inductance. Coming to the pulse number of converter is the number of pulsation cycles of ripple of direct voltage per cycle of alternating voltage. So in the circuit of single phase half wave, pulse number is 1, single phase full wave pulse 2, single phase bridge 2, and the 3 phase 1 wave 3, and 3 phase bridge is 6 pulse. So the order of harmonics on AC side is NP plus minus 1, that is where the N is positive integer 1, 2, 3, and the order of harmonics on DC side is NP, where P is the number of pulse and N is the positive integer. So higher the number of pulses, higher the lowest frequency of harmonic, and higher the pulse number, lower the peak to peak amplitude of the ripple. So now coming to choice of the converter configuration, the pulse number is selected in such a way that both the valve and transformer utilization are maximized, and converter configuration is defined by the computation group and number of such groups connected in series and parallel. So coming to computation group, a group of valve in which only one conductor at a time. So that is P equal to QRS, where P is the number of pulse, Q is the number of valve, R is the number of commutation group in connected in parallel, and S is the number of commutation group connected in series. And this is the converter configuration. Typically, you can say series and parallel configuration of commutation group. Now coming to for the valve rating, it is specified in terms of peak inverse voltage PIV. So index of utilization PIV divided by average DC voltage. So for VDC square root of pi AM equal to PIV 2V, and PIV upon VDC equal to pi into square of sine pi by Q for Q1, and PIV VDC pi square root of sine pi by 2 to Q for Q odd. Coming to transformer rating, the current rating of the valve is IV ID upon R under root Q, and transformer rating is P times E under root 2 IV. Solving for IV equal to STBVP VD0 upon into pi divided by root 2 square sine pi by Q, and into ID upon R under root Q, and STV equal to pi upon root 2 into VDID under square Q sine pi by Q. So from this equation, transformer utilization is STV VDID is only a fraction of Q. The optimum value of Q is 3, and then ST VDID is 1.481. So now coming to analysis of grid circuit without overlap, phase voltage is equal to M sin cos omega t plus 60, and EB equal to cos omega t minus 60, and EC equal to M cos omega t minus 180 degree. The line voltage is AC equal to A minus EC, that is root 3 AM sine cos omega t plus 1, 30 degree, and EBA B minus E, that is root 3 AM cos omega t minus 90, and ECB equal to EC minus EB, that is root 3 AM cos omega t plus 150 degree. So the valve 1, 3, 5 of our row are connected together, and the valve 2, 4, 6 are connected, lower row are connected together. So valve in upper row, which is having highest positive voltage across, it will be in conducting mode, and the valve in lower row, which is having highest negative voltage across, it will be in conducting mode. And this is the typically the voltage waveform, how the output voltage of VD is there, and how the typically the voltage waveform across the your grid bridge with the device voltage VAK, and how the current waveform of the converter is shown for the IAIB IC. So coming to valve 1 conduct between minus 1 to 0, and since EA is greater than EB or EC, and valve 2 conduct between minus 60 to plus 60 degree, and EC is more negative than EB or EA. So similarly, valve 3 conduct between 0 and 120 degree, and valve 4 conduct 60 to 180 degree, and valve 5 120 140, and valve 6 180 to 360 300. So the instantaneous direct voltage VD is composed of 60 degree segment of line to line voltage. So no load voltage is given VD equal to 3 upon pi minus 60 to 0 AC sine d theta, or 3 upon pi minus 60 to 0 root 3 AM cos theta plus 30 degree d theta, or 3 root 3 pi by pi into AM, or equal to 1.6 pi VM. So the PIV across each valve is root 3 VM, and the RMS line to neutral voltage is AM by root 2, that is 0.428 VD0, and RMS value of secondary current is ID under root 2 by 3, that is 0.816 ID, and aggregate voltage rating is 6 into 1.047 BD0 into ID upon root 3. So aggregate VA rating of the transformer secondary is 3 into 0.428 VD0 into 0.816 ID equal to 1.047 VD into ID. And these are typically the voltage and current, fundamental phasor of voltage current for the 3 different angle 0, 30 and 60 degree. And coming to power factor of fundamental neglecting losses AC power DC power, so ELN equal to RMS line to neutral voltage, pi the angle between the fundamental line current lags line to neutral source voltage. So 3 ln IL1 cos phi equal to VDID equal to VD0 cos alpha into ID, and that gives 3 ln root 6 by pi ID cos phi equal to 3 root 6 pi 1 pi ELN ID cos alpha. Hence the power factor of the fundamental wave cos phi equal to cos alpha. The term cos alpha is also known as vector power factor or displacement factor. The converter thus works as a device that converts AC to DC or vice versa, so that current ratio is fixed but the voltage ratio varies with the ignition delay. Coming to reactive power requirement are increased as alpha increase from 0 to or reduced from 180. So when alpha equal to 90, power factor is 0 and only reactive power is consumed. Coming to harmonics in current is order of H equal to NP plus minus 1. So 4-6 pulse converter, order of harmonics 5th, 7th, 11th, 13 and higher order, and these are filtered by using filter for each one of the first 4 harmonics and high pass filter of the rest, and RMS value of Hth harmonics is given by H equal to I1 upon H. Now coming to solved problems. So question 1 is 6 pulse thyristor bridge converter connected to 30 line 50 Hz 3 phase AC supply. If the reactance on AC line is 0.1502 ohm and commutation angle is 15 degree, pi angle is 0, calculate the DC load current. So VM 230 root 2 V and F50 3 phase, X is equal to 0.1502. The commutation angle is 15 degree, so pi angle is 0. So IU equal to VM upon 2 omega LS into cos alpha minus cos alpha plus mu, and putting the value comes I0 equal to 36.895 ampere. Now coming to example 2, a 3-phase fully controlled bridge converter feeds power to the load having a resistance of RL equal to 20 ohm and a very large inductance to result in continuous current with the input from a 3-phase supply of 15 volt 50 Hz for pi angle of 30 and 60 degree. Calculate the mean total voltage, power consumption, displacement factor, distortion factor, total ohmic distortion of AC current, power factor, crush factor of AC mains current, AC's RMS current and thyristor RMS current. So taking a first case of alpha equal to 30 degree, mean voltage 3 Vm upon pi into cos alpha. So putting value it come 485.19 and power consumed is VD square upon R. So it's 11. Putting a value it comes 11.77 kilowatt. displacement factor cos alpha. So it's putting a value, it comes 0.866. And since the DC side current is assumed to be constant, so AC side current is quasi square wave. In the fundamental RMS current equal to IS1 equal to 0.7796 ID. The AC line RMS current is IS equal to 0.8165 IDC. So distortion factor IS1 upon IS is putting value, it comes 0.9547, and total armature distortion 1 upon df square minus 1, so it comes 31.18, and power factor df into dpf, so putting a value, it comes 0.8267, and current factor IP upon RMS, putting a value, it comes 1.225, and AC RMS current is 0.16, so it comes 19.808, and thyristor RMS current ID by √3, that is 14 ampere. Coming to alpha equal to 60 degree, main voltage is 3 Vm upon pi into cos alpha, so it comes 280.125, and power consumed is Vd square upon R, so it comes 3.92 kilowatt, and displacement factor cos alpha, it comes 0.5. So since DC current is assumed to be constant, AC current is a quasi square wave. The RMS fundamental current IS1 is 0.7796 ID. AC RMS current is IS equal to 0.8165 ID. So distortion factor IS1 upon IS is putting a value, it comes 9547, and TID is 1 upon df square minus 1, so it comes 31.18, and power factor is df into displacement factor, so it comes 0.4773, and crest factor IP upon RMS, it comes 1.225. AC source RMS current comes 8165 into ID, that comes 11.43 ampere, and thyristor RMS current ID upon √3, that comes 8.08 ampere. Coming to example 3, a three-phase fully controlled bridge converter is connected to AC supply voltage of 250 volt per phase and a frequency of 50 Hz. The source inductance is 5 ohm. The load current on DC side is 25 ampere. The load consists of DC voltage source of 400 volt having an internal resistance of 1 ohm, and calculate the required delay, overlap angle, distortion factor, displacement factor, total armature distortion of AC current, crest factor of AC current, power factor, and AC source RMS current, thyristor current. So EL given 250 volt, I is 25 ampere, R equal to 1 ohm, LS equal to 5 millihenry, and E equal to 400 volt. So putting the value, you get typically here the cos alpha, and then alpha 39.45, distortion factor I1 upon I, that comes 0.955, displacement factor cos alpha, it comes 0.77, power factor displacement factor multiply distortion factor, putting value, it comes 0.737, and total armature resistance 1 upon displacement factor distortion factor square minus 1, that comes 31.06, and AC mains current IRMS equal to 0.8165 ID, that comes 20.4125 ampere, and thyristor RMS current ID 1√3, it comes here 14.43 ampere. Coming to example 4, calculate the output DC voltage as a percentage of AC RMS fully controlled bridge AC DC converter for constant load as fire angle of 0, 30, 45, 60, 120, 140 with the overlap angle 0, 30, and this. So Vd upon EL is √3 by 2 by cos alpha plus mu, and putting the value, you get the different value for different pi angle shown table in the table. Now coming to example 5, a three-phase fully controlled bridge rectifier has output voltage of 200 volt at no load, and it is loaded with a constant DC load current 20 ampere, overlap angle is observed to be 100. If this converter is fed from 240 volt 50 Hz AC mains, calculate the value of source inductance, fire angle, displacement factor, distortion factor, total armature distortion, power factor, and RMS current. So alpha to be find out, and XPR, so ID and VM1 339.41, and VD equal to 3 Vm by pi into cos alpha minus 3. So cos alpha comes 0.1 pi, alpha comes 51.89, and I0 equal to Vm by 2 XR, cos alpha cos mu, so XR 9.24, and inductance comes 29.395 millihenry, and displacement factor cos alpha plus mu by 2 0.5463, and distortion factor is 1 by 3 upon pi, it comes 31%, and power factor df into dbf, that comes 0.5217, RMS current is 16.33. Coming to example 6, a fully controlled three-phase converter is operating in the inverting mode with the angle of firing at 25 degree. If AC supply is for 15 volt line to line RMS with a reactance of 0.3 ohm per phase and resistance of 0.5 ohm per phase, determine the mean DC voltage, overlap angle, and recovery angle when the DC link current is 50 ampere. Assume the device drop of 1.5 volt. Given data, gamma is 25 degree, LDI, XDI 0.3 ohm, RI 0.05 ohm, ID equal to 50, and VM1 for 15 √3 586.896 volt, VD equal to 3 Vm by pi, cos alpha minus 3 upon pi xt upon id, and Vd equal to 493.91, which considering resistance and divided off Vdc final equal to Vd minus 2 IDR minus 2 divided off, so it comes 485.916 pi V. Coming to example 7, a three-phase fully controlled bridge converter operating in inverter mode with angle 25 AC supplied to 220 volts with the resistance reactance of 0.2 ohm. Determine the maximum current that can be computed allowing a recovery of angle 5 degree. Neglect the device drop, so gamma is 25, alpha 50, xi 0.1. So putting a value I0 equal to Vm1 into divided by 2 xi cos gamma minus cos gamma plus, so it comes 2.66 ampere. Coming to example, a three-phase quantity control bridge which has a line commutator inverter to feed power from DC generator to AC for 50 Hz and angle of advance 30 degree with the overlap angle 10 degree. Determine the DC generator voltage considering thyristor voltage of 2 volt drop with content. So three-phase fully controlled bridge converter is used as LCI, and here VDC equal to 3 Vm cos beta minus cos beta plus 2 Vt, so VDC comes 509.8. Coming to example 9, calculate the delay angle alpha for three-phase bridge converter is transformer secondary with a 175 kilovolt and DC output 200 volt with the overlap angle 25 degree. So with all data, VDC equal to Vm cos alpha plus cos mu by 2, so it comes your alpha equal to 24.23. Example 10, the AC line voltage to three-phase bridge active by 170 volt during power 200 megawatt. Assume the delay angle 20 degree, that of competition reactance 20 degree. Calculate the DC current. So here IDC equal to PDC VDC. So I'm just putting value IDC comes 11.697, and for IDC for taking IDC is 11.69 since it cannot vary large due to ohmic laws. So these are the solved problems, and these are the references from which material. And thank you.